Hello, everyone, and welcome to The Way is in Training. This is a podcast exploring how warriors should train and fight, as well as how they should live. We will talk about technique, but we'll also dive deep into fitness, mindset, and strategy. We will explore leadership and philosophy as well. So whether you are a young soldier, a veteran police officer, a responsible armed citizen, or simply someone looking for an authentic life, let's examine how the lessons of combat and preparation for it can help us fulfill our potential. Let's explore the way together and learn how the discipline of training can show us our true selves amidst the chaos of life. Hey everybody, welcome back. In this episode, I've once again got Coach Tony Blauer, creator of the Spear System. And it's always a great conversation, so I'm looking forward to this one again. Everybody should have an idea of what your background is, and we've had you on here a couple of times, but let's do like a shorter version of your background, if you don't mind, Coach. Just let everybody know who you are and where you came from.
My parents had sex 66 years ago, and then I was born. Oh, you didn't want me to start back then, the visual of my parents.
I'm just glad that your number was a bigger number than mine, so I'm not the oldest guy in the chat room.
Right. It blows my mind how old I am. I just never thought, But how old are you now?
I'm 57.
Yeah, it's just because I can remember looking at, but it's different. Like if you think about back when you were like 9 or 10 or 12 and you looked at a 57-year-old or a 65-year-old, you'd be like, man, those guys are old as fuck.
Something about that, and I don't mean to interrupt, sorry, but this is a funny story from just last night, actually, at the dojo. One of the guys I was training with had a rash guard under his gi with a picture of Murtaugh from Lethal Weapon. The I'm too old for this shit t-shirt. Yeah, he had it as a rash guard. He was only like 41 when he made that movie. Like, he wasn't even that's not even old today.
Yeah. But what I'm saying is you and I don't look like the 57, 65-year-olds from 50 years ago. Like, there's like something's changed. Like, old people don't look as old. Some do. I guess it's because we train. We're martial artists. We do fun stuff, and this is really important for everyone listening. And it's not this like fucking. Can I swear on your show? Too late.
You
because I'm in the generation where I still say retarded and gay, right? And I'm glad that's now official again, because I never stopped saying it. My kids would look at me and go, Dad, you can't say that. I go, I am who I am. But the whole find your purpose, like, even if you don't like your job, there's a way to still, play guitar, be in a band, go for a run, like do stuff that keeps you young, like the stuff that if there was no need to, pay a mortgage and feed people and do all that, what are a couple of things that you would love to fucking do, and just make that happen, put that in your life, so it could be reading, it could be painting, it could be, anything.
I always, how some people say they wouldn't want to live forever. You hear like people give that opinion and they're like, well, you get bored, or life will get old, or it would lose its meaning. I disagree. And here's why. Imagine all the new things you could learn to a level of mastery if you had forever. I mean, there's always something different. There's always something you haven't done to get good at. And I kind of think that's the meaning of life anyway, is learning things and trying to excel at them. I don't know. What do you think?
Knowing that that's not possible makes me sad. So yeah, because I'm so fucked up right now with trying to fix my spine and things that I've done for 30, 40 years in combatives, that I'm not enjoying people. And my brain is, I just watched a really cool clip. You might have seen it, of George Harrison talking about age and aging and stuff like that. And, he's describing himself older, but with his brain is still 20 years old. I still fucking drive my wife crazy and tease my kids and talk stupid to my dogs. And here's one of them. AC, come here. My voice changes, you know. And Ace, come here. Come say hi. Ace, don't listen to me. Embarrass me on the show. He obviously has another meeting. But so yeah, I mean, I would love to fucking, someone said, hey, swallow this pill, you could live to forever. Everyone you know is going to die, but you'll live forever. I would probably do that. I'm like, I don't like this whole getting older thing.
Yeah, and that's also part of it, right? Is like just the thing that always scared me about getting older is the injury cascade. I remember talking to a guy, he was a friend of a friend. It was actually at a Christmas party in Chicago like years ago. And there was a friend of mine who was an FBI agent that I worked a bunch of cases with. And he had a buddy that I'd never worked any law enforcement stuff with, but he was in Ranger Regiment before he was in the FBI. So we kind of hit it off, right? And we're talking. And he was the first person I ever heard use that term, injury cascade.
Mm-hmm.
And he was telling me that's what he was afraid of as he was getting older. It was not one injury. It's getting injured and trying to recover from that. And before you can recover, getting another one and then having that cycle take over. So you just degrade physically, right? And now that I'm older, I see that happening with guys that were just studs when they were younger. And that's something I think that genuinely scares me. Like, I don't want that to happen. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, I think the answer is, you keep training and keep your muscle and keep that mass and strength training without pretending you're entering the CrossFit Games in your 20, right? There's you don't need to like, unless you've already built that. Like, there's a couple of guys that I'm buddies with that they're just monsters, so there'd be no reason for them. But I was never that. I learned to Olympic lift in 2006 and never touched a barbell before that. And by that, I was horrible at it because I'd spent all my life as a competitive skier and then most of my life as a martial artist, meaning I'm internally rotated. My body, I've been like in this stance, you're doing the spear. So my body is like that. So you don't have that type of, I'm not going to be like snatching and doing overhead shit because of all the compensation patterns. But I would just say that cascade that you talk about and I've heard that in other words before, where it's just like, it's almost like when you go, I guess it's time to get a new car, like something just but we're the car, right? So,
yeah.
All
right, and we've already gone down a couple rabbit holes. We haven't even finished the intro. So back to Coach Blauer and the spear system.
Yeah. So I am, let's see, fast. I'll do a fast origin story. Fast forward. Grew up in the 60s, which was the era of every problem on TV and every movie was bad guy does something to the good guy's family, good guy hero journey solves the problem with a fight. The original Batman, Mannix, Streets of San Francisco, all these TV shows that when I was 6, 7, 8 years old, I'm there watching, black and white turning to color, and I was fascinated by the fighting. I was just enamored by it and like glued to the TV. I describe now that I was afraid of everything, but I intuitively did everything. In other words, I was an all-around athlete, but I was afraid of competition. I was afraid of letting down the team. I was afraid of striking out, losing, dropping a ball. And it was wrestling. I was afraid if the guy, double-legged me, that I was going to fucking get hurt when just my brain always threw some fucking movie in my mind of me as the victim in a scenario. That really impacted my enjoyment of any type of competition. The counterintuitive, and this is, everyone listening who doesn't know who I am will understand why this is important for some of the services and programs that I've designed years later, is despite the overwhelming fear, instead of staying home and the sabotage and going, oh, I didn't know the competition was today, I'd still go. and I'd be shitting my pants, but I would do it. But what I didn't know at the time is everybody, like Mike Tyson, used to cry and puke before his fights. George St. Pierre said he dreaded fight day. He loved the training, and he was so afraid of fighting his opponents, but he still went and did it because he had a higher goal or a purpose. He wanted as he eloquently says, I wanted the freedom that world title would provide me. Freedom to meet whoever he wanted, freedom to live wherever he wanted, never worry about money and all of that. And that was so he went through the crucible of fear. And he says jokingly in one of his interviews, the only guy he wasn't afraid of when he fought was Matt Serra. And that was the only fight he really lost, like at that level. So fear can be like a superpower, but I didn't know it for decades. So my relationship with fear, I remember like skiing competitively. Oh my God, I'm going to fucking die in this. I'm going to break my leg. What if I go too fast? What if I go too slow? Just everything, just noise. But the thing is, I always managed the fear, but I hung on to it. So it slowed me down because there's a weight to fear. There's a metaphoric weight to it. 12 years old, 1972, I get jumped by two guys. I get through that. I come home. I tell my dad, two guys just beat me up. He said, you got to learn to defend yourself. I'm not going to tell the story again because I told it in detail in one of our other talks. So people, if they're interested in what I'm saying, go back and listen to the other interview. I start Taekwondo. And what this was the false panacea where I was thinking, okay, yeah, I grew up in the 60s watching every guy got the hot girl because he could fight, right? That was the resolution of every TV show, of every movie. You solve the problem with violence, and then you live happily ever after. So I thought, here we go. And I started training. So I'm 13, I'm 14, I'm 15, get into a couple fights in school, tunnel vision, auditory exclusion, fucking freaking out, can't remember anything. Still get through the fights. Training. I had this one fight I don't know if I ever told you this story, Matt. I had this one fight in school. I was just getting my learner's permit, and I got in the fight with this kid, Lance, who thought I had shoved him. You know that stupid game when you're bullying kids where you get down on all fours behind somebody and they go, hey,
yeah,
and they push him. Somebody did it to Lance. He was surprised, but everyone laughed because it was fucking funny. You're like an asshole teenager. But he came after me. Teacher was obviously out of the room going to get something, and the class fucking devolved into like some animal, bullshit. And people spit balls and yelling and fucking, and then somebody shoves Lance, and he thinks I did it, and he comes after me, and I'm trained in Taekwondo, right? Fucking, side stance and all that. But what do? I go, whoa, finger splayed outside 90, dude. It wasn't me. Nonviolent posture. You're familiar with these things. You're studying my system. This is all nomenclature from the system I developed 20 years later, where I didn't know at the time. Push away danger, cross extensor chain. Try to diffuse and de-escalate. Hey, man, it wasn't me. He comes after me. I pivot. I run. I've got my back to the wall, and I got this nonviolent posture. And he goes, have you heard the story?
I have not, actually. We haven't talked this one before.
Okay. So he's there like this, and his carotid veins are because he's like, you fucking asshole. And he's confusing my attempts at de-escalation for not wanting to fight or not being able to fight. At the time when I was 15 and a half years old, I didn't contemplate the genius of that strategy that we now call the Trojan horse strategy. In a litigious world with optics everywhere, smartphones filming you, CCTV, drones, whatever, you're in a confrontation with somebody. If you're bouncing on your feet in a side stance and then you try to tell the police or CNN later that you're trying to de-escalate, which is the moral, ethical, legal thing, or you're there with your baton out, or you're indexing your weapon, saying, like, all of those are fighting postures. So when I first developed the system and really started to refine it, and I created our timeline of violence, we call it 3Ds, detect, diffuse, defend. I said during the first 2Ds, the detect and diffuse, which incidentally, almost every single self-defense martial art combative system leaves that out. It's lip service. Like our 3Ds, we have drills, like fucking multiple drills for self-awareness, situational awareness, de-escalation, fear management, neural circuitry, all of this stuff where most systems are, and I'm not trying to put them down, is head on a swivel, look for anomalies, next move, de-escalate, say this, right? Verbal judo. Here's a couple of throwaway lines. If you say that, we'll protect you in court. Okay, guys, here's someone grabs your gun. Here's when someone throws a punch at you. Here's when someone tackles you. Here's how you block a punch. It goes, most training is focused on the D3. And the problem with that is because you're not educating the reticular activating system, the part of your brain that goes, watch out for this, watch out for this, watch out for this. When the confrontation happens, you get, and you know this, how many reports of attempted, like not attempted, but the victims that live to tell the tale, or even cops, FBI, military, how many times did people say to you, it just fucking, all of a sudden they were on me, all of a sudden it happened, all of a sudden there was a shootout. And if I share my screen, I can share my screen and show you the timeline of violence. There's a line in there where I call the Star Trek model. And I say the Star Trek model is when you train so much from, like when you were learning weapon retention as a cop, where did 99% of the time, 99% of the drills start?
With the weapon out. I mean, it's
retention meaning somebody's trying to grab your gun.
I was thinking of retention with it already drawn. No, just he's already done it. He's already on the gun. He's already working the problem.
The gun's in the holster.
Yeah.
Right? So you're standing there like this, and the drill starts with, for those of you who are cops, you know this. Your role player has gloves on and eye protection, and he grabs your gun, you pin his hand, and then you start doing brachial stuns or, like a radial nerve stun or some sort of joint lock, joint manipulation. Am I right?
Yep.
What you're practicing, so in order to do the drill, what do you need to let happen from a psychomotor skill and a situational awareness situation?
You're letting him
that drill.
Yeah, you're letting him get his hands on the gun so you can practice the technique.
So for every rep you do the technique, you're also training your brain to let somebody grab your gun. That was my big epiphany in the 80s. I was like, I did this, I did a talk Friday night at a Kajikempo school. And I said, who knows how to defend against a headlock? Everyone was their hand up. Let me see you guys do it. Guy stands up, another guy stands up. You want me to attack you? I go, okay, Matt, you're gonna do the you do the attack. And the guy goes like this. He bends over so that the guy can reach around and grab him. Think about how many hundreds of times you've done defense against a headlock. And what you do is you bend over like you're going to drink out of a water fountain, put your ear on somebody's stomach so they can grab you. If you and I are training the rear strangle defense, what do? You turn around, you give the guy your back, you let him put his arm around you. Now, people can say, well, of course you're doing that because you're practicing the counter. But you're doing so much of that, and I promise you, this is neuroscience. This isn't Tony Blauer psychobabble. And this explains why 99% of the dashboard, body cam, helmet cam videos I see, when there's a sudden ambush, you don't see trained responses. You see emotional, psychological, fear-based scrambles. While I can show you a video I just did in a debrief today of a prison guard getting attacked. I would love to show you guys that. Like, he's not doing anything. He's trained. You could see him freaking out, scrambling, not to get swarmed by the guy. But it's all because this principle that I intuited 100 years ago.
So I have a question on that. I really want to hear your thoughts on this. It's okay. We'll get the intro finished at some point during the podcast.
Let me just say this. I'm 65 years old. I've been studying violence, fear, and aggression for 40 plus years. I've been teaching since 1979. I started teaching professional in 1980. And I've had one job since 1980. I teach people how to manage violence.
Pretty well sums it up, I think. And we've talked before on the podcast about what a big influence, even though you didn't know me and I'd never met you, you were on me from the time you had the magazine articles in the 80s, right? And I'm sure it's countless other martial artists and people that care about self-defense. So I want to ask your thoughts on something, talking about the dash cam video, body cam, dash cam video, right? Because this is one of those things where I think people are looking at data and then extrapolating the wrong response from the data as far as training goes. So you always see what basically looks like a retreating bill drill, right? You know, the guy, the police officer, or the security guard, or the civilian CDW holder, right? CCW holder, excuse me, is panicked, backing up, off balance, shooting the guy while they back up. And I've noticed that there's a trend in certain instructional circles to train that retreating bill drill. And I think they would be better served by training the pre-attack cues and everything that you're just talking about and putting themselves in the right position prior to drawing the gun, if they can, or upon the attack from the opponent if they can't, rather than that panic response. I don't know. What do you think about that? Because you've done a far deeper dive into this than I have.
So yeah, very interesting. So a couple of things. One, if you poke a single cell amoeba under a microscope, it will pop away from the pinprick, right? So at a cellular level, we move away from pain and danger. Heat, we don't go, oh, that's hot. Oh, that's sharp, right? If we touch something sharp or hot, we recoil. If we see a snake or a spider, we recoil. If somebody scares us, right, you open the door, if somebody's about to ring the doorbell, you don't go, oh, you scared me. You're like, fuck, right? The body recoils. That's a startle response. If we think there's a threat going to hit us, there's a flinch, the hands come up at blinding speed. You need medical equipment to measure it. The hands come up, eyes closed, head turned, shoulders come up, hands come up, and then automatically push away danger. That's the cross extensor reflex. Everyone does it, and it's uniform. It's a spinal level reflex that deploys. This is my favorite part of weaponizing the flinch, which is what this, for those who don't know me, I created the first system that weaponizes the startle response intelligently and explains it, called SPEAR, and the acronym is Spontaneous Protection, Enabling Accelerated Response. When this happens at blinding speed, my hands, it locks and loads my close quarter arsenal. Notice this, Matt, you carry concealed?
Yes,
okay?
Of course.
Okay, so your gun is your appendix?
Yes.
Okay, so pretend we're talking like this, we're at the table, and we're arguing, I go, fuck you, man, and then all of a sudden I step up and I come to hit you. What I want you to do is, as I go to hit you, I want you to flinch and protect your head. So I come in to go hit you. Now, don't move. Turn your hands towards your face. No, turns your hands towards your face. Look at your palms. Is there a fucking gun in your hands?
Nope.
No. You can put your hands down. This is my favorite demo when I do like concealed carry. I have a course called Concealed Carry Combatives. This is one of my demos I do with people where I show them, if you're in like inside the reactionary gap, like the classic, like 3 to 5 feet and blah, 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 and you're carrying and you're trying to de-escalate it because you don't want your gun to fall out over an ego fight. You don't want to, right? There's a different level of responsibility if you carry, right? And so road rage situation, an argument that, there's different places you can carry a weapon and not, but let's say you're out where you can carry legally, altercation breaks out. You're not brandishing your weapon. You don't want anyone to know it, but you might be the courageous bystander, or it's directed at you and you're like, hey man, take it easy. You're trying to diffuse it and it escalates. If somebody surprises you, and I'm going to get to your question about people backpedaling and drawing the weapon and shooting off balance. If you're trying to diffuse it, which is the moral, ethical, legal thing to do, and someone, just like I said, like I jumped through the screen right here, you're not going to shoot me from retention. Your nervous system's going to go, fuck, right? Like, holy shit. And the hands are going to come up. And I'm telling this to all of you out there, if you train and you go, that's bullshit. Like, weaponizing your startle flinch is such a fucking smart thing to do, because your wax on, wax off theory, right? How's that for provocative? Like, everyone has and it's the same thing for you. You're a lifelong martial artist. If I said, hey, a guy comes at you, he's approaching you at 2 o'clock, and then he swings at you, you're going to go, I'm going to fucking raise and block and reverse punch him. Everyone has a theoretical answer. You're a wrestler. Oh, I duck under that sprout and fucking shoulder roll him. You know, you're a taekwondo guy. I'll lean backwards. I'll fucking kick him in the face. Every martial art has an answer to that. But when we watch real violence, as I have, we go it doesn't matter if it's a sudden violent encounter, and that's got to be the formula. So it's a fight you didn't agree to, and it just erupted out of nowhere like a Jack in the Box moment, where you go, dun, 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 something's wrong here, and then also the lid pops up and a cloud pops up, and you're like, fuck, I hate clowns, right? Like weaponizing the flinch, and you've heard me use this metaphor, is like getting into an argument with me going, I'm not going to put an airbag in my car just to spite you. Your startle flinch is a tactical airbag that deploys when your fucking situational awareness has been compromised. Because if you knew you were walking into a trap, you wouldn't walk into a trap, right? If you knew stepping in and putting your hands near the guy, touching him, going, sorry, I need to step back here. If you knew he was going to stab you or punch you in the throat or draw, if you knew that, you'd already drawn, or you'd have already, disengaged from the fucking barricade or something. So the real importance with my research, and now I'm going to officially answer your question, is understanding all of how you as a human weapon operate when the stimuli isn't of your choosing. This is the big problem, Matt, of all conventional systems, is we say, when he does this, I'll do that. You're choosing the stimulus so that you can demonstrate your efficacy of the move you fell in love with. So that we have is important. We have a situation where I go, hey, attack me like this. You attack me wrong, like the Jim Carrey video. And I go, no. I wanted you to throw a right punch, not an uppercut. And this is where all the stupid arguments get into. But what if the guy does this? Well, then, but you have what we call in our system ACP, awareness, consent, preparation. A true violent encounter will trigger that. And so one of our models, or we have two important models. One thing we say, be careful what you practice. You might get really good at the wrong thing. A lot of martial arts self-defense people misinterpret that as me criticizing their stylistic approach. What I'm referring to is how the brain learns. A weapon retention drill that every cop around the world is taught isn't a martial arts style. It's not a kung fu or tang sudo or BJJ or whatever. It's like, hey, people grab cops' guns. If they lose the gun, the cop runs the risk of being shot, maimed, paralyzed, or killed. And there's a whole video on it, right, called Ultimate Survivors, interviews with cops who've lost their gun in the line of battle. And every one of them said, all of a sudden, he had my gun. And I'm going, no, it wasn't fucking Star Trek. Nobody taught you how to read the pre-contact cues and indicators that led to the target glance, the movement, getting behind you, getting beside you, getting your gun out. And what you were taught when somebody grabbed your gun was fucking bullshit. We don't teach weapon retention. I get asked this, I teach a lot of law enforcement. So I get asked, do you teach weapon retention? And I always answer like this. Let's role play. Ask me if I teach weapon retention.
Hey, Tony, can you teach us weapon retention today?
Matt, you guys don't have holsters. They go, what? I was going, weapon retention is your fucking holster. Weapon protection is your mindset and your skill when somebody tries to steal your gun. You shouldn't be pinning a hand and doing hammer fist to the radial nerves or trying to hit the brachial stun. If somebody's grabbing your gun inside the reactionary gap and they are a bad guy or gal, you're in a death match. The only reason somebody would grab your gun is to try and use it.
Yeah.
You should be deploying some sort of deadly force counter right away. We do a drill, and you could do this with some of your students. I do a drill where I stand in front of somebody and I let him grab my gun. And I go like this. If you got like a decent retention holster, not like an IPSC holster where so you're just drawing it, and fast ones are thumb brakes, like the old drop leg. Like, do you guys still use that, or are they all retention now?
They're all retention now.
Okay. So like back in the day, it was just like the thumb brake, right? But on that, on that, you still, if you were standing in front of me and had to do it, you couldn't just thumb break it. There was like, you had to fucking twist your hand, you had to thumb. So even like a super easy holster to defeat, I would stand there like this. I don't have a holster with me here with my cert, and I put my gun here like this, and I would have people like, I go, I'm not going to do anything. I'm just timing this. 3, 2, 1, go, and they go, and they pull it out, and I go, okay, that was 3 seconds, 2 seconds, good, and they'd be like this. They go like this, Matt, like they pull it out. I go, well, you have to point it at me. Change your grip. You just pull my gun out. You have to do this. Point it at me. Take the safety off and point it at me. And the whole thing sometimes would take 2, 3, 4 seconds. If you had a really good retention holster, there were times like people couldn't even get the gun out. Because, some of them are like, you got a fucking angle impressive. And so somebody who wasn't familiar with it, they'd be there for like, and then my next demo, and I hope everyone watching this can visualize this. So imagine I'm in front of you, you got a decent, and of course, appendix holster has almost zero retention, right? So I'm just talking about like a cop demo right now.
Right. Yeah. Like uniform duty.
Yeah.
Whether
so and just to show the drill, the visual, they'd be like this, and I'd be like, I'm pretending I'm here like this. What? You're standing there like this, and it's like, oh, here the guy's got to turn it around and then turn it here, and you're just hanging out here like this. If I let you do the whole thing, eventually you present the weapon, I can do the gun takeaway that we practiced like yesterday or the week before. But the education point was this. It always took somebody who didn't understand the holster, wasn't standing behind you doing that, going, okay, I get it. It always took them 2, 3, 4, 5 seconds more to get it out. And I said, if I'm talking to you and you jump at my gun, and you've got 3 seconds to fucking hit me, why aren't you? I understand the reflex would be, fuck, the hands would go back, but our move right away, index the hand, wham, I'm coming right across your fucking throat with my forearm. Spear is deploying, pushing away danger. Guess what happens if I slam that half spear, sternum pec clavicle, and aim for the throat? Guess what happens? Your body splays backwards, and now as your body splays backwards, the angle of your hand changes, you can't get the gun out. So, and I've done this literally, I'm going to say a million times, but I'm exaggerating. Like every cop class since 1993, when I first started teaching it at ASLAC, this drill, I had every cop do it. They were blown away. We had cops that didn't want to even do it because we didn't have training guns back then. So everyone had to make their duty guns, clear, safe. And even though there were no rounds allowed and everyone checked everybody, we had people that, because they've been told, you don't do defensive tactics with your real gun. And I said to them, if you're so nervous to use your real gun, even though you've tricked it visually and physically, inspected 3 times, had somebody else do it, and that's freaking you out, what makes you think you're going to fucking be cool as a cucumber at 3 a.m. when somebody grabs your gun? This is all part of the stress inoculation. And I understand, like I'm talking really fast. So people are going, like the selective listener go, is he using like a live gun in a gun defense? That's fucking ridiculous. It's not what I'm saying. But what I'm pointing out is why a lot of these strategies and tactics fail is because people don't teach fear management, pre-contact cues in a meaningful way, and then actually part of your training, and we do this we have a drill called emotional climatization training, where you mentally blueprint the auditory visual pre-contact cues of every type of attack you might face. And there's not a lot when you're in the reactionary gap. So there's less than 7 credible attacks for a mono fight. And there's very, I can't do this online, and I want people to train with us, so I don't want to give it away. But there's a system where you break it down and you realize that if I'm sitting in my chair and I want to hit you hard, I need to get up. And when I get up out of my chair, I need my legs bent. I'm going to sit. So if I'm standing up straight like this and I want to hit you now, Matt, I would lower my center of gravity and fucking load that hand and come across. So that's a pre-contact indicator. So if I'm standing like this, I know you guys can't see me. I'll change the angle here a little bit. And I'm going, fuck you, man. Fuck you. And I'm doing this. And then I want to hit you. There's a load to drop that shot in. So there's a slow motion drill where we talk about, okay, hand came back, this hand came back, you lowered the center of gravity. You do it over and over again. So you're creating all these data points, like like when they do the blue screen to create a video game, and they got like dots on the guy. Like there's a drill like that where we're going, he did this, he did this, he did this. So your brain goes, and then watch this. If I wanted to tackle you and I'm standing here, I'm going to do the same thing, but instead of the hand coming over, a shoulder's going to drive you. If I wanted to draw a weapon, I'm going to do almost the same thing, but there's going to be a lower center of gravity if a guy goes 3, 2, 1, go. Even if he's just drawing from here, there's going to be a moment where he's going to drop down if it's really a gunfight. That's one thing I noticed. I know I'm all over the place here. I get fucking crazy. You can tell I don't like teaching anymore after 40 something years. It's one thing I see, like a lot of people doing like shootouts on the range, and they're standing like flat-footed going ding, 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 ding. Where if you watch real video of people in a real gunfight, they don't move like that. And so if you're training for the real gunfight, you want to replicate what humans really do in that. And we call this, there's an expression in our training, we call this off balance on purpose. So we do like startle flinch draw, right? Where it's like, oh fuck, and you're shooting from here, your hand is canted like fucking Israeli shooting. Now when I jerk the trigger, that round, so if I jerk the trigger here and I'm aiming center mass and I'm scared, and I'm like, fuck, I close my eyes and I don't jerk it, it's linear down, right? There's a good chance I'm hitting you versus taking the time, maybe jerking the trigger, I'm exaggerating. This way is a right-hand shooter. But then we'll do primal draw, we'll do protective draw, which incidentally is how 99% of most shooters shoot in a gunfight, pushing away the danger. But how do you practice on the range? Does anyone ever do that on the range? No, not really. So that's a dedicated part of our training, whether we're using UTMs, simunitions, paint, airsoft, whatever, or just blue-red guns. It's still replicating that. So your nervous system goes primal, protective, tactical, and you create a groove. This is all spear, empty hand or long gun, pistol, knife. We always move from the primal to the protective to the tactical. They're not 3 different moves. They're a sequence. Your body naturally goes, fuck. The hands push away, the body turns. If you're not unconscious or dead, you will naturally go, what the fuck was that? And then turn front towards enemy. So the system is like when the military discovered us back in the 90s, they were like, holy shit. Because my empty hand system, they just could drop an MP5 in, which was the weapon of choice back then. I'm so old. We were using like actually wooden spears. Back then, there's like this caveman, had a caveman kung fu studio back then. That's anyways.
Well,
sorry
I will say the manual of arms on a wooden spear is a lot better than the manual of arms on an MP5. I can't stand the safeties on those things.
It's much simpler. Make sure your stick isn't too thin. Keep the point sharp. Don't point your stick at anything you're not willing to destroy. But sorry for that rant, man. Holy shit, I was like insane where I went. But so back to your question. If somebody hasn't practiced D1 and D2, detect and avoid, defuse and de-escalate, then the attack will always be an emotional psychological attack, and the perception of violence at close quarter will trigger a startle response, so you're always going to peel backwards. In the spear system, we say this. In any confrontation, so we're moving around, we're talking, I'm going, man, you're stalking me, I'm moving. I don't know what's behind me, but I always know what's behind you. And so in the spear system, we say, do not give up real estate in a dynamic confrontation unless you absolutely know you're drawing somebody into your own ambush. You know that if you get back into this door, you can slam it and there's a fucking tomahawk on the wall and a baseball bat and a 7-iron and a shotgun, right? Like, oh, my weapons are over there. Hey, man, I don't want any trouble. I don't trouble. But I know that territory. I know where I'm going. But if you're out in a road rage in a bar, like you're on a run on a trail, and you come around the trail, you stop for some water, and you hear banjo music, right? And you look up, and there's guys in what are they wearing? Overalls. You guys, the reference, Deliverance, right?
I do. Some of the younger guys may not, but
yeah,
I
the
definitely
younger guys
do.
are going. These two old guys. Should we continue listening to their podcast? These guys are really old. What's Deliverance? Go watch the movie. And you realize suddenly, oh fuck, I'm in the woods, I'm alone. Maybe my cell doesn't work. Nobody knows I'm here. I went for a run, and I'm about to get like this opportunistic violence from, some guys in the woods. I mean, I was just reading a story of a guy. This just happened like a month or two ago, right? A husband and wife murdered by some psycho school teacher in Utah.
Yeah, I remember that.
And the mom got the kids away. The kids are alive, but mom and dad are dead. She went back to try and help him, and the guy stabbed him to death. Like, shit just happens, right? Like, so where were they that them as a family with 2 kids were hiking? They obviously, they weren't in the Middle East somewhere. They were just going on a trail in Utah. Like, shit just erupts. So in those moments, right, startle flinch. I mean, it's horrible. Our system really is, and I say this because as I've gotten older, I've been so polite for 40 years, man, and I've had my system copied. I've had people fuck me over, but I've had people say, "Oh, I never saw Tony in the octagon. This is bullshit," or who I've trained, how many tier 1 organizations, governments all over the world. But I'm at an age where I'm like, where I just brazen now, and I just say, look, we are the only system entirely based on real sciences of neurobiology, kinesiology, psychology. It's not gender specific. It's behaviorally inspired. It's genetically wired, and it'll make you fucking safer, even if you're a black belt in another system.
Yeah. Well, like in the shooting world these days, it's like somebody made a joke. I saw it on social media the other day. There was a post about shotguns and Charles Askins. You know who Charles Askins was? He was a lawman and a pretty good gunfighter in the early 20th century, right?
Okay.
And, a lot of real gunfights, a lot of real world experience. And somebody made a joke about nobody would listen to him today because he didn't have any match scores and practice score, which is like the way you grade shooting matches, right?
Yeah.
And it's kind of the same thing. Like, you may not have been in the octagon, but I know of a few guys you trained that were in the octagon that everybody's heard of, plus all the military units. It's
right. So you're reminding me. Sorry for interrupting. You know the name Ronnie Parker?
Yeah.
Out of Texas. So he trained a lot with me, and he was in at the time I knew him, and I was doing a lot with not Dallas SWAT, but Houston SWAT. Sandy Wall, and those guys. I mean, I worked a lot with them. We had so much fun. But Parker, one day, because what I would do is, as I was from Canada, training these guys. I'm an American citizen now. I moved here 16 years ago. I moved to the U.S. 19 years ago, but became a citizen 16 years ago. And what I would do is, if I was training somebody who I heard was in a gunfight, because a lot of these drills I came up on my own, where I would just look at, like I just saw you post the shooting from Collateral.
Yeah, the alley, right? The alley gunfight from Collateral,
which I loved. When I saw that, I was like, wow. And I just renewed my CCW, expires every 2 years here where I'm at, and I just renewed it. And my instructor is a really good shooter, like probably the best known in Southern California. He does it too, and it's fucking fast and scary when you watch it with a real gun, right? It's just all of a sudden it's like, right? It's like you're doing that, and you're like, yeah, that would fucking suck if I were on the other side there reaching for my gun, or I just pulled out a knife going, give me your knife. And the guy just steps back and does that. And we had this really interesting talk, which I want to get your take on. But what I would do is I would talk to people, whether military, law enforcement, and I would have them explain their shooting and their gunfight with me, because it would give me ideas. I don't know why my brain can figure out all these things. Like I was at, probably what's considered the best hostage rescue unit in the world, and they're showing me stuff, and I'm on the catwalk with a couple other guys. They're showing me, some room entry stuff, and here I am, like I've never been in a gunfight. I'm from Canada. We're not even allowed to have guns practically. And I'd say to these guys, because I was never afraid to go, why are you doing this? Why wouldn't you do this? And there was always people that would say, I go, I wouldn't do that. And they go, well, you don't fucking do all what we do. Of course you wouldn't do that. And I go, but I would do this. My intuition as a tactical athlete would be this. This would fuck up the bad guy more. But there were always a couple of people in that unit that would go, so some people go like this, and I could tell they were thinking, even though Roadhouse wasn't released yet, but I think they'd go, I thought he'd be bigger, right? Like you're not a cop, you never arrested anybody. And then, but some people go like this. And these guys would take me out to dinner, and we talk, and I draw on napkins things that I was thinking, and they'd go back and try it. I was always an options facilitator, and some people would misinterpret my ideas as me telling them how to do things. I was going, why don't you try this? Because maybe this is fucking more efficient. And there were a lot of people who came back. I remember one guy, I'm not gonna mention his name because he's still active. But he came back after 2 years, because I was at that location on the 9/11. And so I was kicked off post because I was a Canadian citizen at the time. No foreign nationals on post. One of the biggest honors I had was this particular troop in this squadron came to train with me in Fayetteville after they wanted to train with me and to complete the contract, even though I was kicked off post. My buddy, thank you, Rondon Vito, who had retired out of the Marine Corps, had created a line system. He closed his school for a week so that I could finish training these guys, right? And so, circling back to Ronnie Parker, I'm in Texas, and somebody says, Ronnie Parker's had 7 gunfights. So I call him over. I go, Ronnie, anytime I hear that somebody's been in at least one gunfight, I hear you had 7. And he's like a classic Texan. You can't even understand him. That's right. Chewing tobacco and everything. Big smile on his face. You wouldn't think this guy's he's a gunfighter. Because if you're in 7 gunfights, you're a gunfighter.
Yeah.
And the first thing I said to him, I said, just want to get this out of the way, but just confirming you never lost any of these gunfights. And he laughs because he's alive, right? And of course, you can be shot and survive it, but I was making the joke. I said to him, I go, my first question, and I'm pretending I'm being like a nerdy interviewer. So were you a sniper or were you in a gunfight? Because I differentiate the difference. If you're 100 yards away from somebody on a roof and you got a spotter going, that's not a gunfight. That's you shooting somebody when you've got the green light, take a shot. The gunfight is you're coming in and all of a sudden the person's reaching for a weapon, or they're turning on you with a weapon, or they're going for your weapon. And I always would say to people, even though I say this respectfully, I'm here to be provocative so you don't fucking lose your next fight. I want you up at night going, fucking Blauer, it's making me think about this shit. I want you to come into class the next day going, fuck, I didn't sleep last night because of that drill. I'm not sure now. Because what'll happen is one day you'll do enough reps that you are sure with what you're going to do. So I always told people, I'm not here to blow smoke up your ass. I'm not here to just give you a certificate. I'm here to make you fucking think. And so I said to Ronnie, I said, I define a gunfight as a shootout the opponent starts, and a shootout is the gunfight that you start. Meaning,
it's funny because I never use those phrases, like that particular phraseology. And I stole this from Paul Howe, who, for all I know, might have gotten this in some way from you. I don't know. Yeah.
But Paul and I mean, he's a legend. And I don't think he's ever been in my class, but we've had lots of talks like 100 years ago.
So he said something once that I really loved because it's so true, and people misconstrue this, right? He goes, I don't ever want to be in another gunfight if I can avoid it. But I'd be in as many shootings as you want. I don't care. I'll do a shooting every day.
Yeah.
And that's kind of that same thing, right? There's a difference between.
Yeah. That's original, Paul. It's different, but it's like, it's wild. What I hear. So this is when I would interview people, I go, fuck, I'm right. But I hadn't had the experience they did. I built my system on what I call 3 I's: instincts, intuition, intelligence. And I would do the stuff and train and practice and do it. And then I'd show it to people who are really, they're active duty or they're operators. And they go, holy shit. I can't tell you how many emails and stories I've gotten from I remember after 9/11 kicked off, getting an email from a guy who was running a convoy for the National Guard. And he was a cop out of Texas as well. And he was literally, he'll never listen to this, I'm sure he's retired, and I'm not going to mention his name, but he was the worst athlete in the class. He had trouble stepping sideways, doing our gun drills, doing basic spear drills. I literally said to myself multiple times, I can't believe this guy carries a gun. He is so awkward and so uncoordinated. And I was nervous for him. And if you had told me that this guy was going to lead a bunch of kids, like, how are you when you're deployed in National Guard? Were you 19 years old? Like running convoys, 18, 19, 21?
A significant number of people that age, yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So I got an email. If you had told me this guy in a year from now is going to lead a bunch of kids through an ambush where the other convoy lost everybody and his convoy survived and took no casualties, and they didn't do it with tactics, they did it with fucking fear management, keeping their shit together. If you were going to tell me that guy, I got goosebumps, buddy, was going to do that, I'd say there's not a chance in hell. But while this guy was poorly coordinated, just his body type, his athleticism, he absorbed everything I said. And when we teach, we don't just teach, here's a move, here's an elbow, here's a palm strike, here's a hit the guy here, draw your gut. The most important thing that we teach is my no fear program, right? And fuck fear isn't me being a jerk. It's an acronym for face it, understand it, control it, know it. So that when you're scared, you go, holy shit, fuck fear. And you jump out of your fucking phone booth as Superman, not running, again, not being rash and not being cavalier here. But it's understanding the difference between the psychology of fear and the physiology or biology of fear. So everyone who talks about fear says arousal state, heart rate, amygdala hijack, limbic system. And I go, forget all that shit. When you're scared, your inner coach is saying things like, holy fuck, you're going to die here. Holy shit, where's the cavalry? Oh my God, I'm out of ammo. Oh, and it's got this, I describe it as it's a movie in your mind where you cast yourself as the victim in your own movie, as opposed to the fucking hero, like the Joe Rogan thing, be the hero in your story. But we have a whole system around that. And every fucking person, from our 1-day Be Your Own Bodyguard course to our 5-day law enforcement defensive tactics, to our operator, to our gunfighting, everyone is taught our psychobehavior, our timeline of violence, the 3 Ps, personal, passion, or present, what will it cost you if you don't fight back now? And we teach people how to differentiate between the biology of fear and the psychology of fear, and to say this: you can't be brave if you're not afraid. The primary ingredient of courage is fear. And I make everyone fucking memorize that. You can't be brave if you're not afraid. The primary ingredient of courage is fear. That line, even people listening to that, if you remember that, that'll change your life. Because in the moment when you're scared to do anything, quit your job, get a divorce, ask someone to marry you, work on a relationship. It takes courage to walk away from confrontations. Don't let your ego or pride dictate your next strategy. So many people are fucking dead or in jail because they said, fuck, I'm not going to let him talk to that way to me. There's fucking nutcases out there. And you're not going to negotiate or de-escalate somebody that's dysregulated and also dysfunctional. Do you have the courage to walk away from a confrontation? I walked away from lots of things. It's not because I don't know how to fight. It's because I'm truly scared. Like George St. Pierre said, I'm scared of this guy. Oh, you're a pussy? No. I'm fucking scared because I'm not going to let him kill me, which means I'm going to have to kill him. And if he's trying to kill me and I'm trying to kill him, both of us are going to hospital, or both of us are dying, or both of us are going to jail. Can I avoid this confrontation? And I talk about the only violence you should experience is a choiceless choice where there was no choice to D1 it, detect and avoid. There was no option in D2, diffuse and de-escalate. But you've got to, as a morally, ethically, like law-abiding citizen, you need to have a toolbox that exhausts those. Because when you do stop a threat and someone sticks a mic in your face, or someone says, okay, tell me what happened, you want to be able to say, I'm morally, ethically, legally exhausted options in D1, D2. That's how you have a clear conscience. You did what you had to do.
So I got a couple segues here, if you don't mind, Coach.
Please, please, because I'm like down 90 rabbit holes with 12.
No.
I never said this. Literally, Ronnie Parker goes, I'll forget this. Last thing, and pin your thoughts. So I said to Ronnie Parker, you were in 9 gunfights, right? Yeah. I said, were you shooting the same gun in all of them? He says, no. Once was a rifle, once was a shotgun, once was a revolver, once was a pistol. I said, in all the gunfights, was your opponent actively trying to harm you? He goes, fuck yeah. I go, what stance were you in? Isosceles, Weaver? He starts laughing. He's laughing. He says, I don't fucking know, man. I was just like, oh, fuck, boom. Like, so like one time he's stepping across the bed, shooting a gun. Another time it's like jumping away from, like a fucking round hits a wall. And this is what I try to tell people. If you can't shoot off balance on purpose, can you really shoot in a gunfight? So to go back to the Paul Howe thing, I can do this, right? I can be here like this. How's my grip, everybody? I can be here like this and be here and go, drop it, oh, fuck, boom, boom, boom. Right? That's a shootout. Presenting my weapon, I'm giving you options. Or I come in there and I'm moving through the room here like this, and I'm doing this, and it's a hostage rescue mission where we said, listen, you're gonna have to shoot this guy because the FBI negotiator came out and said, no, like this guy you can't negotiate with. And then the team breaks in, and what they're doing is trying not to harm the Stockholm victim, person who's going, don't shoot him, and you got to shoot him, right? But you're already awareness, consent, preparation. You're already engaged. When somebody goes boo and you go fuck, right? That's everything. And so like that's kind of the realm of where we live, and our training complements and augments anyone else's training. We're training the proverbial jack in the box. I got to get a jack in the box on my desk to remind people that there's no way if I had a jack in the box, picture this, and I'm going and I say, Matt, get ready to finger jab this when the lid pops. And you're here like this. The lid will always pop before the finger jab can go. And the clown's head will always come out before you can hit the eyeballs with a double finger jab. Even though I set you up and said, get ready. Why? Because action's faster than reaction. And by the time the optic nerve and the auditory sense hears the lid and sees the clown and then sends the neuromuscular pattern, do your finger jab now, the flinch will have responded before then. Your startle flinch beats all wax on, wax off. Okay, what were your segues? Sorry.
So talking about the ethical imperative to de-escalate if possible, right? To try to avoid if possible. So I had a couple thoughts on that. One is, and I'm not saying that there aren't people that think this way, but I don't know any intelligent person who's got a lot of experience personally with violence who wants to truly be in violence ever again. And I mean real violence. I'm not talking about stepping in a ring or an octagon or anything like that, right?
Sure.
But I think that if you have half a brain and you've seen it and experienced it, you know that all you're doing is handling probabilities. There's no certainty, right?
Right.
And it's violent. It's dangerous. So that was one thought. And then the other thought I had was, so back to the whole de-escalation thing again from another point, right? The moral imperative point. I always tell my students when I'm doing because I do like performance shooting classes and I do tactics classes, and I differentiate the two, right? Because you have to have the skills to pull the trigger and aim up, line the sights up and aim the gun and all that. But then you have to understand how that applies when you're actually trying to use it in the real world.
Right.
And one of the things I always tell everybody is they need to do the math ahead of time. And I'm approaching this from kind of the standpoint of avoiding the trauma, the psychological trauma of violence for someone that's not already acclimated to that, right? But it kind of ties into what you're saying, right? Because you're doing the math. It's that guy's choice whether or not the violence happens. It's not your choice. And you're doing everything you can to avoid it, to prevent it, to stave it off, to prepare yourself for it. But if he decides the violence is going to happen, then the violence is going to happen, because you can't always deter people. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, no, I agree. And ironically, I don't know if you read this, but my last Instagram post, it's on LinkedIn as well, where I wrote, this is something I've been saying for a long, long time. The pen is mightier than the sword. And then I took liberty, I added, but only if you have a sword, know how to use it, and are willing to use it. So, and I wrote, I'm not going to read the whole thing here, but if you guys go to Tony Blauer on LinkedIn or Instagram or Facebook, you could read it, because when the pen was mightier than the sword was written, it was 1839, but it was like politicians talking about like negotiating on diplomacy and laws and all of that. But the one of the things I wrote here that exactly mirrors what you're saying is in the real world, not the world of debate clubs or diplomatic summits, your eloquent letter only matters if the person receiving it is willing to listen. You can craft the perfect de-escalation script, and that means you in live, hey man, I'm in trouble. You can write the most persuasive argument. You can attempt the smartest verbal intervention. But if the other person has already decided violence is their answer, it doesn't matter.
That's really, and I don't want to get too political here, but just to bring it up, right? There was a recent event that really illustrates that. And that's, the unfortunate assassination of Charlie Kirk, who was a phenomenal debater. Like he was willing to debate his point of view with anybody that agreed with him or not. And he always did it civilly and intelligently and from a place of rational discourse. But not everybody is willing to do that.
Yeah. I mean, that's a tragic but perfect example of that. It doesn't matter. I mean, there's people out there, and that's why I said, if we go back a few minutes where I said, don't let ego or pride dictate your next strategy. Don't let anger, ego, or pride dictate your next strategy. Right? You gotta keep your shit together. And you see a lot of dysregulated cops. People. I wrote an article. I'll remind me to send it to you, called "Emotional Use of Force." If you're active duty and you want to read this, I'm sure my email will be there, but just get a hold of me. I'll send it to you. Make sure your administration reads it. But it's a really interesting article on what happens when, particularly men, get hit, spit on, punched, right? And that emotional dysregulation, how it impacts. Because if you shoot somebody, if you spray somebody, if you baton somebody, if you kick somebody, if you twist somebody, I'm being cute here, right? I'm running through. If you verbally de-escalate, all of those should be matter of fact, resolute, strategic decisions, just like a chess move, right? But this chess is moving at 100 miles an hour, and you're not emotional about moving your pawn or your rook or your queen. You're like this. I think this is the move that will, checkmate. And so we say emotional use of force. Use of force should never be emotional, so that you can go like, this happened, and then I did this because that happened.
It should be dispassionate, right?
Right.
And it's easy for somebody to kind of say that from a context of, an armed professional, even though all too often armed professionals aren't capable of that either. It's a common weakness, right? But I think civilians who defend themselves need to kind of cultivate that mindset too. It's not worth getting in a fight because you're angry. It's not worth exposing yourself and your family to risk because you're upset, because somebody said something to you.
Yeah, it's so hard, and one of the things in my recent CCW research, we talked about like actual events where, someone's breaking into your car outside and you and your wife and kids are inside and you run outside with or without your gun. Like you're exposing yourself to, and it's so hard. And I know like a lot of your audience, if they're active duty or retired, like it's like, whoa, right? But you got to contemplate the risk. Like, is there someone in the shadows? Is that a distraction? If something happens to you because you went out there and not escalated it, I hate when people say that, but you like why the legal definition says like the physical act of protecting your property or your life. We have a right to protect our property, but look how brazen daytime violence now that never used to happen. Right, the last 5 years under the previous administration. I don't want to say anything that gets your podcast taken down, but what a shit show, and how it fucked like just all the laws were, just especially in California, but just shit is happening in broad daylight where there's a video that's gone viral now, like a little 7-year-old girl that saw 4 guys jump out of a car and she runs to her house and they run to the house and kick the door, the ring. Like, were they going to kidnap her? Were they trying to just like that shit? I suppose that always happened a little bit, but it usually happened because it was targeted, because somebody was wealthy or somebody paid them, or it was in a really, to quote our president, shithole area, right? And it happened at night. So, to your point, Matt, and I want you to summarize this because you teach this stuff to people, or let me ask you this. You're at home and let's say you got company over and it's family and it's kids and it's teenagers and it's that, and there's somebody outside fucking around with your car. Like, you've had so much experience at all levels, right? That to go outside with your gun and go, what are you doing? Like, it's so easy, but then to consider, you know what? And this is the hardest thing, like, as a lifelong martial artist, telling people what is the safe. So we have a model called true safety. What is the safest thing you could do right now? And the safest thing to do would be floodlights on, trip your alarm, call the cops. Something like that.
So the other day, here's an actual incident that kind of illustrates my feelings on this these days, right? Now that I'm older and wiser. Because when I was, especially as a younger cop, like, there were plenty of times I made off-duty arrests and, put myself in situations, and it wasn't always the smartest thing to do when I did it, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? So the other day I'm headed into town. We live south of Austin, and it's basically a suburb, but it's like a farther suburb, right? It doesn't connect to the city with a network of suburbs. A lot of people drive in, but it's far enough away where it has like a small town feel. And I'm coming from the city and I'm on the highway, and I don't know what sparked the road rage. I don't know if I cut the guy off. It's possible I did. Who knows? Everybody's done things when they're driving that they wouldn't have done on purpose, right?
Yeah.
And the guy throws a golf ball at my truck. And the speed limit is like...
Just out of his window?
Yeah. And the speed limit where we're at is 85 miles an hour.
Okay.
And it's Texas, so everybody's going, like, the slow people are going the speed limit because it's Texas, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, technically speaking, that's lethal force. It's that could cause somebody to die. And my younger self probably would have chased them down and tried to effect an arrest and follow them to wherever they were going. No, it didn't hit the car. Yeah. They weren't that good at throwing golf balls while driving, apparently. That's a skill,
it could have shattered the window where you can't see, and then it's fucking insane.
Yeah. So the younger version of me that was more impetuous would have probably chased him down and, tried to take some sort of police action, even if a retired guy, right?
Right.
You know what I did? I hit my brakes. I let him go past me, and I called the police. There's nothing I can gain by following that guy.
Yeah.
All I'm doing is exposing myself to more risk for what?
It's the hardest thing when you're a type A personality, if you're a protector, if you're a little bit angry, if you're frustrated with the world, if you're pissed off and all that, that's the hardest thing to do. I'll get a wicked fear spike with stuff, right? That adrenaline dump. And then the the old Tony, like the old Matt, is like, fuck, and you want to hit the gas and pull up beside the guy and flip him the bird and all that. And then it's like, dude, you don't know who this guy is. My buddy Tim Larkin, I don't know if you know Tim, but my buddy Tim Larkin has a great thought. He says when he is in a confrontation with a complete stranger, he treats that person as if the next situation he has, the guy's going to go postal. Meaning, how I handle him and get away from that, he's going to go kill someone else, because he's not going to do it to you or me or Tim. So we go, it's like we grab the guy by the throat, we smack him, we say, hey, say Uncle Tony, say you're sorry. We humiliate him, he runs off, and then he beats his wife or he attacks somebody else. So Tim, this is an interesting thing. He says, I'll just pretend that this guy is one confrontation away from going postal, and I treat him nicely, kindly, and I'm away, just hoping to diffuse it. It's just an interesting way, just to go woosah in real time, right? Remember woosah from
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's Bad Boys, wasn't it?
Bad Boys. Good memory, man.
Yeah, Martin Lawrence.
Yeah.
All right, so this kind of makes me think of something that we've talked about on the show before, and that's the difference between consensual versus non-consensual violence. Everybody has this fantasy of it being basically a duel, because like an MMA match is a duel, a boxing match is a duel. You agree to meet at a certain time and place and fight with whatever weapons or whatever rule set, right? And that's not what, and I'm not saying that never happens, but that's something that you can easily avoid just by not agreeing to have the duel, just by not agreeing to be there. So I've been thinking a lot lately in a firearms context about our conversations about that and how that really applies there as well. And just like in the martial arts side of the house, everybody's training for the duel, right?
Right.
And it's not like people that are armed professionals don't have that sort of consensual firearms encounter. We talked about it a lot on the show already, this episode. Like if I'm going to do a hostage rescue, I'm agreeing to go in there and the guy knows that we're coming in, right? Like it's an agreed upon event, but the guy
and also most like when I'm talking to cops, I remind them of this, and I think a lot of citizens don't realize this. Not a lot of cities have a full-time SWAT team that practice, a raid, and there's a difference between like raiding a place that you think has firearms and drugs versus a hostage rescue in terms of ROEs, the rules of engagement, right? And so what I tell people, I go, most hostage rescue teams are also the SWAT team that's going in there to do a drug bust, right? And then those same SWAT guys that are doing some HRT drills and some regular, room clearing and arrest and control, they're the same cops that are on the street, right? So they're in most cities, even big cities, you got a cop who's got whatever his day-to-day work, and then pager goes off. I got a SWAT call up, and he takes off his blue uniform, puts on a black uniform, and grabs some other shit. So I think that's an important thing for, again, I don't know your whole demographic. I'm sure you have a lot of really trained people that understand that. For the people out there, and what that means is the mindset changes when, and so the cop who's approaching a vehicle or knocking on a door on a domestic is closer to a citizen who is going to experience a jack-in-the-box moment. They don't know what's happening. They're gathering intel. When you're hitting a house as a SWAT cop and you go, hey, we've been watching this guy for a long time. We know he's got drugs in here. We know he's got, guns in here. You're picking the time and the place. Your rules of engagement change, but you're going in there. You're trying to arrest the guy. You're not trying to shoot the guy. Where with hostage rescue, it's the same thing. it's the same people, but now the rules of engagement are very, very different. That kidnapper needs to do something very, very fast and obvious to not get shot.
Yeah.
Right.
Or take it even one step further, like an active shooter. Like that's a whole other set of tactics and rules of engagement there as well. And like I was fortunate enough that my SWAT team was a full-time team, but I didn't spend my whole career on the SWAT team, right?
Right.
And I can tell you several times working other assignments. Like here's a good example. Early on in my career, I worked a plainclothes team in the housing projects, doing gang and narcotics work in the housing projects. And my partner and I had just gone in and bought dope in Rockwell Gardens. And this was a very low level team. It was early on in my career. It was like a district level team, basically, right, for housing. So we didn't have a lot of resources. It wasn't like we were working out of the organized crime division where I was later in my career. And we had covert cars and buy money and all that stuff. We're doing this kind of on the fly at a very low level.
Right.
So we had a regular unmarked car. So we had to park the car like 5 blocks away and walk over like we were going to buy dope and we weren't the police. You know what I mean?
Right.
So we're walking back to the car and these 2 guys tried to rob us with knives. So it didn't end well for them, but it was the last thing we expected walking back to the car.
Right.
Was 2 guys to jump. It was actually a guy and a girl to jump out and pull knives. And they just wanted the dope because they saw us going to the projects to buy the dope.
Right.
They just wanted it for themselves. But that's the kind of thing it's the difference that you're talking about. It wasn't like doing a search warrant, a high risk search warrant or doing a hostage rescue. It was literally, I'm walking down the street with my partner pretending to be a junkie. Yeah. And 2 people pop out to take us off.
Yeah. I mean, I talk about that, the idea of consensual versus non-consensual, which sounds like we're going to make out, but I call that's the ACP model, awareness, consent, preparation. I know what's happening. I agreed to be there, and therefore I'm preparing, right? Even if I don't have a lot of training, I'm still preparing for it. Like, get ready, this is going to fucking hurt. You're prepared versus, you just open the door and someone hits you. A bunch of videos viral recently. It was just crazy, drove me crazy. I did a whole breakdown on it, where cops called to the house, 2 cops pull up, body cam film, and the guy goes to knock the doormat as the door opens. So he misses the door because the door is opening. And he pulls back when the door opens, but then it stays there. Like immediately you should have like hit a fucking angle, like the door opened right away. So what that tells me when somebody just like doesn't move and continues to stay there is they haven't replicated scenarios. They haven't thought about practicing off balance on purpose.
Right.
And so what happens is, and it's so simple to do. When I do these drills with people and I say, let's do it from a chair instead of standing where you're ready. How much would it cost you to do it from a chair? And everyone in the class goes, like in US currency or whatever country I'm in. There's one of the things I would always say. Anyone who's trained with me knows I always say like a drill. I'll show them something so out of the box. And what would it cost you in US currency to do this drill? Everyone goes, nothing. What it'll cost you if you don't do the drill? Someone goes, well, maybe your life. So you can do the drill. Like none of my drills, like I go, well, that's too expensive. That's why we don't do it. You gotta build a set and you gotta do a moon launch set and whatever. So it's just, you just gotta think creatively of like, what would be the fucking Murphy moment here? So the door opens up as he's knocking, he doesn't move. He steps into the fatal funnel, kind of like leans towards it because the guy opened the door and the guy just comes out with a knife right away. And the cop flinches back and then double legs the guy as the guy's like trying to stab him. But he's not thinking tactically, but the guy's neck is exposed. He could have switched hands. He could have grabbed his head, sliced his carotid. But the guy was just completely dysregulated. He's just doing shitty shit like this. Another cop came and intervened. But what bothered me so much was like he just stayed there when the door opened. Because that's the Jack in the Box moment should be the moment when you go, fuck, and you get ready to go. And then he double legged the guy when the guy presented a knife. Right? And had there not been another cop there, or had this guy been a little bit more skilled and motivated, something horrible could have happened there. It's like, so I would say, I don't know if I said it on this call, be careful when you practice, you might really get the wrong thing. I did.
Yeah.
Be careful when you practice, you're right. And that's an example where there was another video we did in one of my breakdowns. Guy came in to try and kill the instructor at the jiu-jitsu school, believe it or not. And he wasn't there. So one of the other instructors confronts the guy, and the guy comes at him with a knife. He double legs him, and he's got massive cuts on his shoulder and his back, just missing his spine. And he's showing, really nice guy. He says, "Thank God I'm alive." Like, I'm thinking, you know, if something had happened to me, or what my mom think, and in front of the students, I was able to do that. But, you know, of course, everyone's celebrating how jiu-jitsu saved the day, but everyone's forgetting that he got stabbed 3 times really badly. It's just that slash near his spine hit his rhomboid instead of his spine.
Yeah.
Right? The slashes over here missed the subclavian artery and caught him in the scap. Right? But those wounds couldn't have been there if not for the double leg.
Well, and that's actually a perfect kind of illustration of what I've been thinking about as far as firearms training lately, right? And to put it in martial arts terms, so like, and we've talked about it before, like I love Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I'm training in it now. I'm having a great time with it. I think it's a really valuable skill set. It's good stuff to be good at, right? But like a lot of other arts that are competitive, it caters to the competitive rule set. Like the things that they train the most of, the things that can get them the best results in that rule set for points. And before everybody gets upset, I'm not saying that it's a bad thing to compete. That's not what I mean. Whether you're talking about shooting or BJJ or kickboxing or any of that, because that pressure testing is a good thing. And that stress inoculation is a good thing, right? But like you said, you got to kind of understand what you're practicing and what it's for and where it's useful and where it's not. And I've been having a lot of thoughts about shooting competition lately. And I'm a big advocate of shooting competition to build the skills, right? To build the skills and the attributes you need. So, but take the tactics out of the equation for a moment. A stage at a USPSA match has a lot more in common with a search warrant or a hit in the military, where you're hunting these targets and you're moving through as quickly as you can. And you're not doing it tactically, but that's not what I'm talking about. That's a very different animal than reacting to that immediate threat like you talked about. And I'm not saying it's bad to compete. I'm saying it's bad to only compete, if that makes sense.
Yeah. No. It was perfectly said. I would say it more street slangy. You got to do both. And if you're, and this is just pretend math, we can't train all the time. We got to sleep. We got to work. We got to, go out to dinner. We got to take the garbage out. So all of us can only train X amount of time. Whatever that time amount is, let's say it's 100% of available time. So I'm using the number 100%. And of course, you can't train 100% of your time. But what I'm saying is your training time should be used up 100%, right? So if I have an hour, and I would always tell people this is where we created our ballistic microfight in the 90s. BMF, ballistic microfight, is not kinetic. It's like, what is the most dangerous moment of this violent encounter? And I'm going to do that over and over again. So in other words, if the most dangerous moment for you on a SWAT entry is the third room, the suspect grabs your gun and is fighting in the fatal funnel. And you were struggling there. So people can't get in the room. There's no field of fire. There's a collision there. Right? You visualizing that? You're coming in, you just cleared 3 rooms. You hear some noise, maybe he's upstairs. And as you come through that door, he's there, fucking, he grabs the gun. That little hole is now over your shoulder, and he's swinging it back and he's driving it towards your face. And you're like, motherfucker. And you're jammed up against, and your team is already, let's say, I'll make it, it's not a small crack house. people have gone into different rooms. So you're there and you got maybe a cover man, right? Or maybe you're alone, right? And you're fighting. And we created back in the early 90s a training protocol called no room to shoot, no time to shoot. So it was a deadly force encounter, but you had no room to shoot or no time to shoot. Jack in the box, you're pointing a long gun at me, tell me to get on the ground, and I go here, and you go, yeah, and I grab the fucking gun. Right? And I've done that a zillion times. I can change your reaction time by getting you to think, and I can increase it incredibly by getting you to speak. So while you're talking or thinking, you can't, and this is specific. I'm not talking about narrating what you're doing. There he goes now. I'm not talking about narrating that. I'm talking about you're in a D2 de-escalation. You're communicating with somebody. Don't move. Let me see your hands, right? Slowly. And the guy says, officer, I've got I do have a weapon on me. I'm going to, you're going, don't fucking, you're like, there, that's where your reaction time can change because you're communicating, right? And we have wonderful drills, so this is empirical. But the concept is you're in that third room. You get in there now. You're in a struggle, what we call no room to shoot, no time to shoot moment. Everything changes there. And so if we go back to what you're saying is like you can be like tracking, like you're hunting, and then all of a sudden you're hunted.
Yeah,
surprise attack. And so our ballistic microfight model, which I was trying to explain, is a short, explosive fight that erupts out of nowhere, even though you're in a consensual situation. I consent to be here. If you're in D1 and you're like, oh, I think I'm being followed, then that's where ACP starts. I consent to be here. And now you turn around because you realize like avoidance and escape isn't an option. I'm in an elevator. I'm in a parking lot. It's whatever. And now I hit a nonviolent posture. I know the Trojan horse is working. Cameras are watching. I'm going, hey man, I'm carrying. I'm not carrying. I'm traveling. All of these things are going on in your mind, and you're trying to select the right phrasing to de-escalate. And you're realizing, okay, this is working. Oh, it's not working. Okay, now I need to move preemptively. What am I going to say to? And then while you're thinking this stuff, the guy goes boom, and he just attacks you. You want your nervous system to have a trained response. So one of our talks that we share when I'm talking to agencies and organizations, I do this whole talk, Matt, called Violence Loves Speed. But what it talks about is like, of course, the predator loves speed, but the only way that you can compete with the speed of sudden violence is to improve your mind speed, not your draw speed, not your finger speed, not your block, wax on, wax off speed, because the mind navigates the body. So you've got to manage the fear spike, regulate, recalibrate, and get back in the fight. And that's really what at the core of startle flinch conversion is.
And it's so powerful on the part of the attacker that it's even part of doctrine for military operations. I mean, everybody's heard the cliche, speed, surprise, and violence of action.
Right.
That's exactly what the bad guy is using if they can.
Right. And nobody's stopped for a second just to simply say, when our tactics fail and we were ambushed, do speed, shock, surprise, violence of action on the part of the bad guy. So we'll take, let's say you say to me, I got an hour to work out with you. What some people will do is they'll go, okay, let's pull up on the house, get out of the car, we'll stack, we'll clear the house. Okay, we'll do that a bunch of times. And then we'll set up our sims or UTM, we'll get iPro on, okay, then we'll run it again, and then an hour's up. And I get that, like, if you haven't done that, you don't know how to work as a team, you got to do that. But once you've done that, if you train with me, I remember doing this at Range 37 down at Fort Bragg, where they brought me in to do a course, and I forget what the guy's name. Fuck. He's the guy in charge of like so the scenario we were doing was shotgun blast to the door to breach.
Yeah.
Flashbang in, and then the team flooded in, and then we're working on that. Well, so the BMF model, I'm explaining this because it applies to like a CQB entry, not just our empty hand stuff. So if I say to you, oh, you're a cop, here are the three things that will fucking ruin whether you make the arrest or not. The guy sucker punches you, the guy tackles you, or the guy grabs your gun. Those are the three most dangerous attacks inside the reactionary gang. Of course, drawing a weapon, but I'm talking about like an empty hand assault. And running away, you don't have to chase the guy. So the guy decides he's fucking moving. So we take those three attacks and we just isolate those. And it turns out that if you apply Hicks' law and you apply Fitts' law, which are two scientific models of how could I eliminate choices that lengthen and expand my reaction time. And the solution is to have a move that solves the problem for those three attacks. And it just so turns out that if you're in a good nonviolent posture, de-escalating, if you go to sucker punch me and it triggers a micro flinch, and I expand the tactical airbag, aka the spear, I occupy that space. It stops the sucker punch. It also stops the tackle, and it also, the guy reaches for your gun, stops the gun. So I have one move that if I deploy it like an airbag. So think about if I have an invisible balance ball. What are the Swiss balls? You know, the big ball that you do. What are they called?
Like Bosu balls or Swiss balls.
Well, the Bosu's flat on the ground.
Yeah.
Right? So like I got a Swiss ball, one of those balls, I forget what they call it. But if you can't see it, I got an invisible one, and you go to throw a sucker punch, pretend to punch me, and I go like this, and I stick the ball out, like you hit the ball. You're like, what the fuck? Now you go to tackle me, I shove the ball in. You go to grab my gun, you target glance, you move, I shove the ball. So firing your hands, first of all, this quarter extremity expression of power is the most powerful thing you can do. I have a video that I did today of that guard I mentioned, where the guy jumps on him. He's on a chair on four wheels like I am, and the guy goes like this. He flinches and hits the guy as he hits him and throws like a 180-pound inmate off of the guy, bounces off the hands and hits the desk behind him, falling back like that. And then comes right off the desk and attacks him again. The guy's still not out of his chair, and he stops him again. So imagine if you're standing in a split jerk stance and you do it. It's more powerful than a sidekick, and you can deploy it from fucking 8 inches away. So it's incredibly powerful. But we show people that, and Fitts' law is it's a scientific measure that says that the rate of speed that somebody can make a decision, like on how to pick a target with a mouse, has to do with the size of the mouse and the size of the target. So if your mouse is really small, you're like going like this. You can't see my mouse now. But if I'm trying to, hit like a button and my mouse is tiny, you can adjust the size of your mouse, or you can adjust the size of your button when you're designing software. So if you want like a great user experience, you have a bigger mouse and a bigger target, and people get to it fast. Well, guess what? Our mouse in the spear system is our ulna bone to our elbow. That's a big fucking mouse. And our target, our default target during sudden violence is, guess what? It's a term that you, as a gunfighter, firearms instructor, might be intimately familiar with. Center fucking mass. So I'm here like this, Matt. Look at me. Hey, man, I'm in trouble. You're a zombie. Go to bite me. I go, fuck, right? And my hands come out, and they hit you sternum clavicle in the neck, and you're like, boom. Now you're here, and you go to throw a big looping haymaker. And I go, oh, micro flinch, boom. Hands come out. You can't get in. Now you target glance my gun, right? You look at my gun. He starts to move, bang. If you go to reach for my gun, and I do this demo in our gunfighting class, where I stand there, and I do this. I take the gun. I take it out of the holster. I just have it sitting there, so there's no retention. And I have the guy reach, so he's just right here like this. And as he reaches, I go, I have no retention, grab my gun. And as he moves, because we've done that emotional climate drill, as he moves, I go, fuck. And all I do is deploy the protective spear. What happens when I hit his forearm? What happens to the length of his arm? What happens when I hit his sternum, his center mass torso? What happens to the length and reach of his arm?
It lessens.
Right. They go like this. So even though I had him indexed on the gun, as soon as he does this and he reaches for it, I slam him and he backs up. He can't even reach the gun. It's like people like, you know, the emoji with the head exploding? That's what happens in the class where people are like, holy fuck, because they've been taught all these complex motor skills. But this model that I'm sharing with you, and I know you got things you want to say. The model that I'm sharing with you is derived from our approach to scenario training, where we say, what is the Murphy moment? What is the fucking worst thing that can happen to you? And then we fixate on that and we build drills around that, so you get super like a level of readiness around the worst moment. And then you go and you step backwards a second, backwards, and the drills fill in the blanks. So we'll do, instead of one 10-minute drill, we'll do 10 1-minute drills. And instead of 10 1-minute drills, I'll go target glance my gun and lunge at my gun. How long would that take if we did that real time, real speed?
Handful of seconds.
3 seconds, 4 seconds.
Yeah.
Guy looks at it, boom, and he runs in and does that. So we'll do that. It's 5 seconds. Spear, hit, drive, push, throw the guy away, index your weapon, decide if you have to draw or if you got to fight empty hand, because he might come right at you. You don't want to be going as the guy's swinging punches at you. You might have to engage him physically. Rushing to your gun can be a very dangerous thing. Okay, so let's say that whole scenario where it resolves is 15 seconds. I make people do 4 of those in a minute. And I'll say, hey, we're going to put on a UFC round, 5 minutes. For 5 minutes, you do that. So you've now done 20 reps of practicing violence at the most dangerous part. And guess what? You get really good at being comfortable right there. And to the point where we're here like this, I'm talking to you. I know the camera's offline, okay? But what I want you to do is we're looking at me. So look at me in the eyes. And now what I want you to do is I want you to target glance my gun. Imagine where it is. As soon as you target glance my gun, you couldn't see that, but I fucking just palm struck your chest. So if I'm talking, this is a drill we do, I'm talking to a suspect. And I go, so you're not the guy. This isn't your ID. This isn't your home. That's your car. You know your license number. Like you're doing all this shit. And then all of a sudden the guy goes like this. He's not running away. He looks at your gun and you're talking to him. What? Index palm on his sternum. He's back, right? Where he doesn't even get in there. And I know some people go, oh, you can't hit a guy just because he looks at your gun. Yeah, you can. If I go as an expert witness and your client is trying to sue me because I palm struck him in the chest because he looked at my gun and he happens to be a bad guy inside the reactionary gap, and I go in and I say to the judge and the jury, I just played them ultimate survivors. Every single person, paralyzed, wheelchair, and of course they can only interview the people that survived losing their gun. Guess what every one of them said? He looked at my gun before he attacked me.
Yep.
Then they didn't know what to do there. Now listen, this is so mind-boggling to me. Sorry if I get excited, guys. Go back an hour. Every gun retention drill, which should be called a protection drill because retention's your holster. Every drill around the world starts with, in 99% of academies, agencies, in service, starts with the role play of grabbing the gun already because it's safer to do. Which means I start over here with my hands on your gun. Which means you can never practice defending the target glance. And you can't grab my gun unless you target glance it because you don't know where it is.
So, you know how there's a big, and I know you're familiar with the term because you're well read, especially in this subject matter, right? This particular subject, I should say. But the OODA loop, Boyd's
OODA, yeah.
Yep. So everybody talks about it, but I think a lot of it is just kind of as a buzzword. It's just kind of lip service, right?
Yeah. I don't. Most people, I don't want to say they don't understand it, but when Boyd created it, he had ACP, awareness, consent, preparation. How do we know that? He was in a jet flying, right? Observe, orient, decide, act. It's too Sesame Street for sudden interpersonal violence.
Yeah. But what I was just thinking, though, is that what you're talking about is really, in many ways, it seems like a similar concept to me, because what you're training that orientation and decision making, the ACP, like you talked about. ACP is your acronym, right?
Yeah, awareness, consent, preparation.
Yep. You're training those cues that set you up for what the other person is intending to do. You're orienting to his behavior sooner. That target glance, that gun glance, right?
Well, I mean, so let me just say something. So I met Boyd many, many, many years ago, and I think he's a genius and a hero and all of that. So when I say Sesame Street, I just want to qualify that, because like that'll be a soundbite that gets me more hate. Tony said, is for Sesame Street. What I mean is, it's too Ernie and Bert. It's too, C Spot Run.
Yeah.
There's so much emotional, psychological, physical stimuli, both internal and external. Like if I say head on a swivel, I tell people, while you're in a situational awareness phase, you're also competing with your self-awareness. In other words, if you're going, where's my backup? Where's my backup? Holy fuck, there's 6 of them. Like that doesn't allow you to act on all the information that's coming at you, because you're in your own fear loop and you don't even realize it. So learning how to manage fear, and this is our No Fear program, spelled KNOW, learning how to manage fear improves your self-awareness. When you improve your self-awareness, you improve your critical thinking. When you have better self-awareness and better critical thinking, you have better access to the stimuli that you see.
Yeah.
So like this is, so our cycle of behavior is like the OODA loop on steroids. If I showed you a graphic and you could put it in the, I could share it here if you want. You want me to share it?
Sure.
Or no. Share screen. I don't know how to do this on here. Allow to share a window. I don't know what I'm doing here. Share this window. So check this out. What do you see? I don't know what you see.
Yep. No, I'm seeing it. The timeline of violence. Yep.
Yeah. So timeline of violence, that's what I was talking about. Like all of these things here, D1, D2, all of this stuff these are all drills and lectures and breakout sessions where most people spend their time going over here, D3 plus, get me in a headlock, grab my gun, right? Cycle of behavior, did it just switch?
It did.
This is our OODA loop. We have a scenario, hey man, I'll take care of this. All of a sudden, oh fuck, he's attacking me. And so you got to navigate the fear loop before you get back out into over here where you just pulled your trigger or palm struck the guy or hit the guy. So there's so many factors in our program that are huge, like this one here, ASAP model. We all want to take care of violence as soon as possible, but our awareness, our consent, and our skill is impacted by the speed, the aggression, and the proximity of the bad guy. And the more sudden and aggressive and close the bad guy is, can you see my cursor when I'm doing this?
I can. Yep.
Okay,
can.
great. So the greater the weight, meaning the greater the value of these 3 things, the more primal we will be, meaning the more we'll go, oh, fuck, total jack in the box. So these are all things this is all part of our law enforcement course. I do want to show something here that's fucking amazing, because there's a lot of people out there who go, well, I don't flinch because I've done my 10,000 reps, or I'm a black belt in this, or I've been in that. And we showed this video of this comic Freddie Starr talking to Ali after Ali was like, he was the greatest. And Freddie, during that, can you guys still see me? Because I'm in a different screen. I can't see what you see.
Yeah,
Am I still on the
can.
screen?
We can see. Yeah, you're still on the screen.
Okay, good. So he's telling Ali this story, and he's drawn him in. There's like the whole video. I can't show it now because it's like 2 minutes long, and it's so low we had to put subtitles on it. But he's telling this story about a guy who borrowed money from the mob, and he's talking like this. He's talking like this, Matt. And then he lowers his voice, and he goes, and then he opened the door, and there's this woman at the door, and the wind was blowing, and the guy goes, And Ali like lurches backwards in his chair like this story's getting dramatic. And the guy goes like this. He goes, and then he notices and he lowers his voice and he leans forward. And guess what Ali does when he lowers his voice and leans forward?
He leans forward, leans
He
into
leans
here.
forward. And then he goes like this. He goes to Ali and he says, he looks at the woman and she's missing one of her fingers. And he says to her, and he throws a jab at Ali while Ali's leaning forward. And this happens. What is the great Muhammad Ali, fingers splayed, arms outside 90. If you see the video, his fucking leg comes up. You guys can see me. He goes like this. Fuck. He goes full fucking fetal. But then the arm comes out. The reason on the screen capture, you can't see his arm is all blurred. But he's in here inside 90 primal. But then the body naturally starts to expand the airbag. Fingers splay outside 90. Those are our two cues. So I took a picture there. If this was a real fight, he'd have obviously punched this guy out and this guy would have no chance. He's laughing at this point. It's quite funny. But my next picture, which I accidentally clicked I clicked the wrong picture. But check this out. The guy on the left is the same guy as the guy on the right. And I love showing this fucking picture because all the haters out there, all the people that go, oh, Blauer, start a flinch. Why are you teaching people to flinch? I'm not teaching you how to flinch. I'm teaching you how to weaponize the flinch. Because if this guy who's fought Sonny Liston, Joe Fraser, Foreman, Kenny Norton fighting with a broken jaw can be surprised by a comedian who's wearing a linen jumpsuit on a talk show, you can flinch too, dude. And you want to learn how to convert that flinch and weaponize that flinch. Now, how do I get back to you and stop my share? Okay.
Yep.
There we go.
So that I think that goes back to kind of wrap it all up, to sum it up and tell me what you think about this. But that seems like kind of the perfect place to wrap up everything we've talked about, right? Because it's universal and it doesn't matter what kind of fight it is. It doesn't matter if it's a gunfight, if it's a knife fight, if it's a fist fight, if it's, a tank column getting ambushed. Like you're going to react physiologically the way you're going to react. And then what you do with that is what your training helps you do.
Correct. If you start off, so when people train with us, and I'm gonna pretend I'm Ernie and Bert teaching Sesame Street. Ernie and Bert are teaching the Spear System. You are a human weapon system. Neurobiology bypasses cognition. Executive function can get hijacked when there's sudden violence. If you're afraid of snakes, and I go, Matt, look at this, and I throw a snake on you, you don't go. You go, oh, fuck. If you're afraid of spiders, and I go, hey, Matt, and I throw that on you. If I go, hey, Matt, pass me your helmet, and you turn around, and as you turn around, I start shooting at you, you're not going like Wonder Woman, right? You guys remember Wonder Woman, right? When she would deflect bullets with her bracelets. You're going, fuck, right? You're like, so when a stimulus is introduced too quickly, we flinch. What we teach in the Spear System is how to weaponize the flinch. And the only way you can do that is if you go, the flinching is the coolest thing in my body. It's designed to protect me when my conscious situational awareness has been compromised. You turn around and you walk into a spider web, you go, fuck, right? But I tell this story because I don't like spiders. I'm walking home one day and there's a tree that hangs over a part of the walk when I come up to my house. And I'm 10 feet away, and in the wind is a fucking spider that's like this fucking big hanging from a spider web. And it's blowing in the wind over the sidewalk. But I see it from 10 feet away. So I stop. D1. You remember the timeline of violence slide? D1, I see it. Situational awareness. Cars are coming up on a country road. I can't step into the woods because there's no room. The spider's right over the sidewalk. D2, self-talk. Oh, fuck. Holy shit. I obviously don't hit a nonviolent posture, but I pause. I slow down. I watch the cars. No cars coming. I step out onto the road to avoid the violence. And I track it with my peripheral vision to see if it fucking jumps at me or if the wind comes up. But I've also walked into spider webs, Matt, where I'm on a trail run or I walk into our shed, which we haven't been in a month, and I walk in there and it's all like, I'm like, fuck. The difference was ACP, awareness, consent, preparation. I knew what was happening when I see what stuff in D1. So to get really good, to improve your self-defense IQ, you say to yourself, I'm a human weapon, and there are fucking functions in my body that no one can replicate. Like, I bet these robots don't flinch, right? Because there's no limbic system or amygdala in a robot, right? I throw a snake at a robot, it goes, why did you do that? What would you like me to do with the snake, right? So it doesn't have what we have. So to get really good at enhancing your survivability, you need to accept the fact that you are human. And if I metaphorically said, you're your hostage rescue team, right? You're responsible for your safety. Are you totally vigilant and situationally aware 100% of the time?
Of course not. Nobody can be.
So right. So, but let's say I say, okay, you're on duty to protect yourself, and now you're in this bar, you're there, and you go, I'm gonna go to the bathroom, and I just happened to notice that like two guys got up and followed me to the bathroom. Well, I'm not gonna not go to the bathroom because I gotta go to the bathroom, but I gotta be aware of them. So I'm situationally aware. They go and they start to go to the bathroom. And you're going, nah, 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 nah. Don't look at them. They'll think you're looking at their dicks. They'll fucking look over. And they're going to the bathroom. Are you still situationally aware? Now you have to go pee. Kind of.
Yeah. Yeah.
But when you look down and undo your zipper, you're fucked right there if they make a move. When you take your, can I say penis on your show?
Sure. Absolutely.
Like some of you could still fight because you only need one hand. But Matt and I, like both our hands are fucking, like we're compromised. You don't never to compromise your hand in close quarter fights. Okay, I'm glad you laughed. But what I'm saying is like there's a moment where you go, you finish, oh, they didn't attack me. And then you're like in the mirror, you're watching them and they're finishing up and you're tracking. But then there's a moment when you target glance the soap dispenser. And you're fucked right there if you do that for a split second. Your phone, you're kind of watching scenario and then your phone beeps. And the beep says, I'll be there in a second to change shifts. And you go, got it. While you're writing, got it, you're compromised. So there are moments. So if we say, what if at the moment when I said, got it, they jump me, I would do this. I was actually teaching one day with my team at a combatives camp. And I had my phone in my hand because I was filming people. And I came over to help a guy. He's in a high gear suit, dude. And I say to him, okay, listen, I need better energy from the role player here. What I want you to do is like come at me. I'm not in gear. I'm talking to a guy. I want you to like come at me. Well, you know, I'm 60 at the time. I was 63. I'm not wearing any kit, but his adrenaline's going, and he's in high gear in the middle of one of our force on force classes, and he fucking rips a punch at me. And I would expect, like, dude, I'm like 63. Well, I'm limping around with my bad back. I can simulate the punch. I'm teaching you. I'm the OG. I'm the pioneer. He fucking wings a punch. I go like this. My hands come up. The punch hits me, hits my head, splits my head open. I got a fucking cut here. Bang! Titanium foam. Boom! It hits me. But it stops the punch, the flinch. I immediately grab his head. Wham! And fucking nail him. But he's wearing a plexiglass mask. Because the cross extensor reflex, if you're holding anything, a flashlight, ID, like a lot of cops, they'll be here, a flashlight, they get their ID. They think if the guy moves on, then they'll go wax on, wax off. You will flinch like Ali, and the cross extensor reflex, whatever you're holding, you're going to grip tighter. But what I went from, because of our drills, I went from primal, boom, grab the guy's helmet, wham! I mean, that would have fucking split him open, stunned them, get him on their elbow, push him away, draw your weapon, whatever you want to do. But I was bleeding. He wasn't because he was wearing a high gear helmet. But it was like such an amazing moment, right? Because I got surprised, even though I said, punch me. I expected him to go slow because we were talking demo in front of fucking 30 students. I still flinched. It saved my fucking head. unfortunately. And I wouldn't have been hurt had I not had the phone, right? Because it went like this. I was like, fuck.
And
That's a wild story.
how many hundreds or thousands
How?
of times had you done the same thing teaching?
Well, but
No, what I'm getting at is I'm validating what you're saying. Like, you've done this, the
since
drill,
1987.
yeah, and then it's still showing the human nature of the flinch response.
Well, and this is an important point for everyone listening. And why, if you're jiu-jitsu, taekwondo, Krav Maga, gunfighter, you teach CCW, training with us will make you and your students safer. Because like nobody's doing what we've been talking about. You know that. And there's certain things that I've done that have inspired other people because we have so much content out there. You can read and go, that's cool. I mean, I remember, this is an insane story. I've had people read an interview in Black Belt magazine, use our stuff there, like it was explained in such a way that they got it, and then write me a letter going, hey, I got in a fight and I did what you said in the article and it worked, which was mind-boggling. You didn't even have one lesson. You didn't even have a free trial class. It was just like an article. And if you read my Substack, go to Tony Blauer Substack, there's a gazillion articles up there, videos and stuff like that. But two things, because you brought up a good point. Even though I'm the spear guy, when the stimulus was introduced too quickly, even when I said throw a punch, his acceleration and the proximity, that was that ASAP model. He was so fast. ASAP is suddenness, aggression, and proximity. He was so fast, aggressive, and everything that my nervous system didn't do wax on, wax off. It defaulted to a real flinch. I really flinched. It stopped the punch. And think of it like a balloon, guys. Like a guy goes to headbutt you, but you have a chance to go, and the balloon doesn't get up all the way. It's going to hit you a little bit, but the balloon kind of got in the way. But if the guy's slower or more telegraphic, you go, and the balloon comes up. The hands are your tactical airbag. I fucking love that metaphor. But yeah, I still flinch. And so we're not teaching, it's the same thing with my fear management. We're teaching people to ethically weaponize fear. Right? Because it's been unethically weaponized by the media and our politicians. But to ethically weaponize fear, to turn fear into fuel, to go, I'm scared, and then remember that one line or two lines I gave you, you cannot be brave if you're not afraid. If I asked you, Matt, on Sunday something might happen and it's going to fucking freak you out, would you like to be brave?
Well, of course.
Of course. Well, you can't be brave if you're not afraid. So remember, even though you're going to fuck, I've never seen anything like this, because you've seen so much, your brain will just deploy because you're stress inoculated. But imagine, and this is how I try to, and I hope people are feeling my passion if you're still listening to this. I know it's been long. Where like I've been teaching now since 1977. I'm still like I'm doing a seminar right now, right? The intensity. And it's because I love this stuff, but I abhor violence and fear so much. When I was 20 years old, I got asked, what do you want to do? I said, I want to make the world safer. And the resistance I get from the good guys, because the bad guys aren't giving me resistance, right? It's the good guys. And I always remind people, I'm not the bad guy. Yeah, but my jiu-jitsu, my taekwondo, my Krav Maga, my gunfight. I go, I get it. But if a stimulus is introduced too quickly, like Muhammad Ali, you're going to go, fuck. Why didn't he rope-a-dope that guy? Why didn't he just slip it? Because he got surprised and his physiology said, your situation was compromised. I'm going to get my hands up and I'm going to get your hands up in front of the face and push away danger in case this threat's real.
You said something to me once on one of our other podcasts, and I know I read it somewhere from you. And one of the things I read that you'd written or an interview with you before I ever met you. And it's what sold me on your concept before we'd ever met. And you said the spear is a bridge to your style or something to that effect.
Yeah, bridge. It's a bridge to your next move.
Yeah. And that always kind of resonated with me on like kind of a profound level, because like you said, I don't know anybody who's mentally healthy who hasn't been afraid.
Right. 100%. So learning how to manage fear is a superpower. And it might not be, look, everyone listening might be gunfighting unicorns. What's he talking about? But I guarantee that you're retired and you don't know what to fucking do. and you're afraid of being an entrepreneur, or you just got divorced and you're afraid of being alone, or you're afraid to say I'm sorry, or you're afraid to fix the relationship with your kids, or you're afraid to, you have an idea for a new sling or holster, but you don't call it fear, but you're procrastinating, right? So we have a whole program. In fact, if you ask me, because I got like 80 different courses, gun, ground, multiple assailant, 1-day course, 5-day course, 10-day course. If you said to me, you have 80 something courses, you can only teach one the rest of your life, which would it be? It would be, believe it, a course that doesn't involve any physical movement at all. It's my no fear course, KNOW. Why? Because only the people who manage their fear manage to fight. The mind navigates the body. There's no such thing as muscle memory in the fucking conventional sense. You have to have awareness. You have to have training. They're called neural patterns, and you have to have a myelinated neuron to have good signal speed. It's that signal speed. When violence hits, you need mind speed to go fucking immediate action, right? And that immediate action, you will be safer if you insert as part of the immediate action. This is the coolest thing. When I interviewed guys who've been in ambushes overseas, and they all said, I'd say, so I'd be talking to the guy who was like, people would know that I'd be interviewing, and I'd say, okay, you were in an ambush, good. Did you survive it? They're like, yeah, I'm here. Okay, good. What did you do as soon as those rounds went by your head? They said, IA. Oh, immediate action. What did you do? Oh, we return fire. Well, what did you do before you return fire? Like you're walking down the street like this, and the round fucking hits somebody's helmet or drops the guy beside you, and you go, that came from over here. And you just turned and shot? Well, no, we dropped to the ground. Hey, you dropped to the ground. And then what did you do? Return fire. Well, you just dropped to the ground and return fire? Or did you roll? Did you orient on the threat? What did you do before you dropped to the ground? What are you talking about? You dropped to the ground. It takes me 5 minutes, but then all of them finally recall this. Block.
Yeah.
Startle flinch.
Yep. 100%.
And I said, if you were trained at a dogma level, hey guys, before you learn this drill, I want you to learn about the human weapon system. I want you to learn how to weaponize your flinch. Because if I can convert your flinch faster, I can hit the immediate action drill sooner. If I can convert the fear spike and turn fear into fuel to drive whatever complex motor skill systems. So when I flinch now in the real world, I deploy a spear. So if you make me flinch, so an untrained person will go, fuck, man, you scared the shit out of me. My students who really learn the system, we go, fuck, and the hands start to come out. So if there is a real threat there, they're running into finger splayed outside 90. And force must parallel danger. And in that moment, I've got an airbag. I can see, I can breathe. It's the same as your workspace, right? When I go, fuck, and I push away, that's my workspace. I can see, oh, fuck, grab the guy, thumb in his eye, headbutt him, push him away, draw my weapon. Oh, wait a minute. It's a guy with Tourette's. I was about to kill him. He just went, fuck you. And I went, right? But now, because I did the airbag first, I realized he has Tourette's. I don't have to fucking escalate.
I just had this vision of what is the cult classic, the movie Boondock Saints. Okay. The bartender with Tourette's and Boondock Saints. All right, so
we're dating.
I know.
We need more references.
I feel personally vindicated now when I'm teaching a class and at least one person gets my cultural references.
You should market a class like, CCW for senior citizens, and then everyone will go.
Well, speaking of marketing, how can people find you and get a hold of you and get your classes and sign up for training?
I post regularly on Instagram, whether you hate it or not. I'm there. I'm also on LinkedIn. And what I do is I post and then I cross post the same stuff. So, I'm on Facebook, Instagram, whatever. Go to my website, get on my newsletter list. I write 3 times a week, and I spend a lot of time on my articles. Go to my Substack. It's just Google Tony Blauer Substack. It'll come up. It's just substack.tonyblauer. It's pretty straightforward. Blauer Tactical Systems, Blauer Training Systems, they'll all lead to me. But there's all different things we do. From if you're listening to this and you're a gun guy or gal and you haven't really done any stuff, I would tell you to start with our No Fear program. It's literally $97 for 97 minutes, and it'll change your life. I promise you. If you read the testimonials, it's wild. I spent decades putting it together. It took me maybe 40 years to record that 97 minutes, and it'll change how you relate to your own fears in every aspect of life. It's not a self-defense tape. Like, we're not talking about fighting, unless metaphorically we talk about the fight that is confrontation management for any obstacle in life. How do I look at fear? There's another thing we do called BTS 90, which is 90 days with me online. And there's a call every week, a live call where you can ask me questions. And I take you through No Fear and Spear. And for those of you who are going, you can't learn self-defense online, not true. You can. If you can learn to cook online and do all these things, all these YouTube channels, I promise you, I was teaching online before Zoom was even a company. We were doing stuff, well, date this. Do you remember Cisco and WebEx and Skype, right? I was teaching on them back way before Zoom was even started. So I'm very good at it. But our program is about some of the slides that you see, and we give you drills to do. I also teach twice a week live online.
Yep, the garage gym, which is really good stuff. Like, guys should take advantage of that. It's good.
Yeah. And we have actually set it up, like, if you're working when I'm teaching, which is Tuesday, Thursdays at what time do I teach? 11 a.m. At 11 a.m. Pacific. We usually have about 15, 20 people on, but there's hundreds of people around the world that log in. So we created a tactical library, which is like the Netflix of self-defense, and it's searchable. There's over 800. Imagine going into a library and every single book is a video, and every single title is gunfight, gun disarm, multiple assailant, courageous bystander, fear management, ground fighting, verbal de-escalation. You put that in, and all these titles pop up, so you can study all this stuff. But it's not like, okay, I read a book. It's like you're watching drills, you're watching exercises, and it's filmed first person, like this is being shot, so it looks like you paid for a private lesson, right? Because it's not like most of the classes are first person. They're not gallery view where you're just like a little block. But even then, like, if you're serious about improving your self-defense IQ, that's an investment you should make. There's a guy, and we could talk forever, but we really should wrap up. My office, they were texting me going, "Are you okay? We need to talk." There's a guy named George Carvajal who, during a spree of active shooter events, I filmed a 14-minute video and published it to Instagram, and it was just me teaching about active shooter mindset if you were caught in an active killer event. And I filmed this 14-minute thing, and I explained the startle flinch. I explained improvised weapons. I went through it. My wife filmed it. We put it online. I don't remember if it was 6 months later, whatever. I get an email from this guy, George, who said he had a home invasion and used exactly what I taught in this 14-minute video, Matt, to stop this guy.
Nice.
But like, here's a guy, he didn't even talk to me. He said, I watched this 14-minute video, and when you said in that video, if a stimulus is introduced too quickly, you could flinch. And I said, but also you can make the bad guy flinch. And if I got a gun and I'm shooting and you whip something at my head, you yell and whip something at me. If I'm a right-handed shooter, I'm going to flinch this way. If I'm a left-handed shooter, I'm going to flinch up to the right. If I'm left, because of the way the body would be angled and pressure, long gun or pistol, you'll flinch up in the same way you would jerk the trigger. And so if I'm shooting at your face, and as I'm looking in the room and I go bang, bang, and Matt, pretend you're like you got something on your desk, and as I'm coming around, you throw it at me, I'm going to go like this. Because the hands, remember Ali's fingers, what direction were they pointing? When you flinch, you don't go, oh, I'm flinching. Oh, I'm flinching. This isn't Vogue dancing. Remember Madonna, Vogue dancing, right? When we flinch, our hands go up. And so if I'm here like this and you make me flinch, this is why you're going to love this. Have you ever been in a shoot house, Matt?
Once or twice, yeah.
Have you ever done simunitions? Once or twice?
Once or twice, yeah.
I don't know if you know this or if we've talked about it, but everyone listening to me, and I hope some of you are having emoji moments, the exploding head. Holy fuck. Connect all of these tactical spider webs. When you go into a shoot house to plan, a scenario, where is all the missed marking cartridge collected? If you visualize this, go into a shoot house tomorrow and take a picture. There'll be shots, all like little shots on the walls where a confrontation happened, but you can't see wood where. All the wood is covered where? Do you know where? If you don't know, I can tell you anyhow. But try to guess.
It's
go into a shoot house and you got a wooden shoot house. There's one place in the shoot house where all it is, if you're using Sims, it's red and blue and you do not see any plywood.
it's going to be off where the threat was to one side. It's going to be if the guy surprises you, and like you said, it's going to be that immediate movement.
Help you. It's and everybody, if you're a shooter, if you're law enforcement, it's above the door. Every door, think back to every shoot house. There's this. So I got a door over here in my office. Of course, there'll be marking cartridge rounds on the wall because there were shootouts around here.
Right.
But above that door, there you cannot see plywood. It's all covered. Why the fuck? Go into your shoot house. Why is there so much paint above a door? No one's that tall. What are you shooting, giraffes and basketball players, and you're missing headshots?
And they were startled
because you're coming in clearing and as you were clearing that room, pretend you're clearing the room, Matt. You get your fingers up, you're looking around here, and all of a sudden I go, and I come through the door, and you go, motherfucker. And there's a micro flinch. Even if you have a sling on, that'll come up. And if you're not 3-4 feet away, if you're like 10 feet away, the room's 10 by 12 or 12 by 12, that's why go back and go check that out. It's one of the things when I'm working with firearms instructors, I go, where's all the missed rounds? And I always make the joke. Are your role players, is your op for giraffes and you only do headshots? They come in, their head comes up over the door and you're trying to shoot me in the head. And isn't that interesting? Think of Muhammad Ali's hands. So I come in here and you come running at me with a knife and I go, fuck. Because here's the last thing on flinch. We don't think to flinch. You've never said flinch fast. Everyone listening to this, you've all flinched hundreds of thousands of times in your life. You've never said, that's hot, you should flinch. That's sharp, you should flinch. Oh my God, that's coming at your head. You should flinch. So flinching bypasses cognition.
Well, I would argue it's even opposite. As men, like alpha male, aggressive men, we get mad at ourselves when we flinch. Well, so if we could cognitively prevent it, we'd prevent it, right?
But that's what I was saying about a half hour ago when I said, if you really want to optimize yourself for survival, part of the education on day one of our course is you need to go, I'm a human weapon. Flinching is good. It's part of my survival system. Yep. I need to love the flinch. I lean into the flinch. I need to weaponize the flinch. And if I don't flinch, I'm taking care of business. Spear's a bridge to your next move. If I do flinch, I flinch, and then I take care of business. Spear's a bridge to your next move.
No, I like that a lot. Yeah, no, that's every time we have these conversations, I'm always thinking about things 2 and 3 days later that are going to pop into my head, which leads me to say that once again, when you have time, I need to have you back on because we've done 2 hours. We barely scratched the surface.
I would love, and I was showing you some pictures that I was doing at the range, and we'll save it for the next call. But I would love your audience, if you guys dig this or disagree or don't understand, send Matt a bunch of questions, and we'll do another call where I'm just answering questions like reading mean tweets. I thought he'd be bigger. I saw a picture of Blauer and he had more hair. He looks like he's moving slower, just reading like fucking hate mail. But hopefully there'll be a good question in there, and we can help you talk through that. But I do want to, when my shooting instructor showed the collateral drill of retention shooting, I said, if you're in full retention shooting, how close is the threat?
it's arm's length.
Then if you had to shoot somebody at arm's length, wouldn't you be pushing their gun away, or have your hand on their wrist, or be palming them in the face, realizing disparity of force, disparity of size?
Yep.
I got to shoot this person. So why are you doing this? Because if you're slashing me with a knife as I'm pulling you to attention, maybe I'm dying as I'm killing you. And this actually happened to a cop in Wisconsin. I use it in our story. He was chasing a guy, vehicle stop. The guy gets out of his car, starts running. What does the cop do? Starts
Chases
chasing
him. Yeah.
Well,
It's like a greyhound and the electric rabbit. You just have to chase.
Yeah. You just start going. It's behavioral. The guy pulls a hidden knife out of his pants, and as they're running, he does a spinning back fist. Like he just started turning. The cop's running. He sees the guy turn. His hands come up. Right. He gets slashed across the arm and goes immediately. Now, what do we teach people when you're drawing your weapon in retention? Where does your support hand go?
Usually it either goes to your chest, or if you're having a two-hand grip, it meets the gun and the gun's kept against the side.
Right. 99% of police officers who draw from a holster, not from retention, where's the hand go? Up here. He goes like this, slash. Now muscle memory that doesn't exist, neural patterns kicks in. Fuck, he's got a knife. His hands are already up. And he goes like this. Draws his weapon. But the bad guy who went spinning slash this way, now you're drawing your gun. Bring your hand to support. He slashed back, caught the guy in the neck. The cop got the gun out, hit him with 3 bullets. The bad guy died in the hospital, but the cop bled out there.
Yeah.
Had the cop, this is what we teach in extreme close quarter, clear control counter. When your hands come up because of the flinch, they stay the fuck up. And if there's a guy with a gun or a knife, you engage that armed threat and you get it offline. You control it with an overhook, you smash the throat, you gouge the eyes, you get that pinned around you, or you get your hand on the fucking slide and fucking jam it, make sure the little hole isn't pointing at you, right? But you fight, so a lot of our gun stuff is, fuck, boom, I'm on the gun here. So if you're slashing at me and the spear comes up and I get on you, now I got to draw like this. So when my shooting instructor said, hey, we're going to do this retention drill, it's from Collateral, and he shot it, I was like, that's scary, but I don't think I would do that. Well, why not? I go, because if I need to tactically have my gun this far, it means the bad guy is right here. And if he's got a fucking pot in his hand, a cooking pot, if he has a fucking bread roller, what are those things called? You roll bread.
Oh, the
whatever, I can't.
rolling pin.
A rolling pin. I'm trying to be funny. I don't know, like, he's got a knife, he's got a fucking chair. I'm going, my nervous system should be going, fuck. And if he's trying to kill me, I need a one-handed draw or a draw, or I do this, fucking smash him in the throat, palm strike him, hit him. He falls down, and I realize I've subdued the guy without shooting him, because your life will change when you shoot somebody. You might have to, but if you're going back to the thing that I created, where you said no room to shoot, no time to shoot, I added 2 more evolutions, but the third one is no need to shoot.
Yeah.
And I've had cops who train with me write me a letter, heartfelt letter, because of this drill we did in training. I didn't have to kill another human last night. Thank you. Like, they were able to solve it hand to hand, even though it was a deadly force attack.
And as an aside, and then we probably should let you get back to your guys. It's been
right.
And I'm not complaining. It's been a great conversation.
No. But this is fun.
There's a tendency for people to put things in boxes, right? And a lot of times in law enforcement, you have your defensive tactics guys, which are your martial arts guys, and you have your shooters.
They trade in silos.
Exactly. But the reality is that it's not every problem can be handled with one solution.
Right.
And sometimes you need multiple solutions to a particular problem based on where that problem is at, what's going on, how it's progressing, how it's developing. And even if you need to shoot the guy, if you can't handle the guy physically, you may not get the chance to shoot the guy. Or like your story with the cop, you might shoot him and still it's a tie.
Right.
And you don't want a tie.
Right.
So, well, on that note, I'm going to let you get back to everybody, and we're going to go ahead
Thank you.
and close this one up.
Yeah,
But-
I'd love to do another one. Send in your questions, folks.
No, definitely send your questions. We've talked about doing a live. Maybe we'll do that one of these days too, because I'd like that. I'd like that a lot. So everybody, I can't stress this enough. No matter what style of martial arts or combatives you do, no matter what your role is as an armed professional, no matter what kind of shooter you are, concealed carry holder, any of those things, right? Seek out Coach Blauer's stuff because it can give you a new perspective on a lot of things about this, and it's vital. I can't recommend it enough. So, and on that note, hope everybody enjoyed this one as much as I did. Please do me a favor because the algorithm tends to forget me because, guns. So click that like, subscribe, and leave a comment. Leave a comment telling me if you liked it. Leave a comment telling me you didn't because it still helps out. And definitely leave a comment with a question for Coach Blauer, and we'll hit it up next time. And on that note, we will see everybody again soon. Take care, everybody.
Thank you. Dude, hang on one sec.
Thanks for tuning in, everyone. I hope you enjoyed this episode of The Way is in Training. Please come back again as we explore how training makes us better at our craft and better in our everyday lives. See all of you soon.